Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Grand Page. I am your most humble and obedient servant, Page Ghost. Today I want to talk about a surprise that I had in experiencing a new show. I recently started watching Young Sheldon. Big reason why I started watching this is because a lot of YouTube shorts, quick snippets about the show, kept popping up on my YouTube feed, the algorithm, and all that. And I was really liking these clips, and I was like, you know what? If I'm gonna watch so many of these clips, might as well give it a real watch. Now, a big reason why I stayed away from watching it is because I'm not the biggest fan of the idea of taking something that is already successful and uh, capitalizing on it, so to speak. Not saying that you can't do that, not saying that it can't be successful, but I felt like they were milking the character of Sheldon. And we're going to get into all of that and sort of my particulars on it and whatnot. But just in general, I don't like the idea of a spin off show. Not saying that it can't be done well, not saying that it's a bad idea or anything. It's just sort of something that just kind of rubs me the wrong way. All that to say that despite that misgiving, I did end up giving the show a watch, and I actually like Young Sheldon better than Big Bang Theory. Now, that's not to say that I don't like Big Bang Theory or that Big Bang Theory isn't a good show. I understand objectively it's a great show, very well done. It didn't go for 11 seasons without being good. But for me personally, I feel like they took a lot of wrong turns. I can't stand Sheldon's character in that show. The big reason why I even watched it in the first place is I personally don't think it got funny until Bernadette and Amy showed up. I can't stand Sheldon. Howie and Rajesh are, to put it bluntly, disgusting characters. And I really feel like they didn't do a good job with what seemed to be the point of Leonard. We won't go into all that. This isn't a Big Bang Theory video. This is a Young Sheldon video. All that to say is that despite my whatever problems I might have with Big Bang Theory, I think Young Sheldon is actually the better show. And not only that, the character of Sheldon is not even more palatable, but even just overall better rounded and much better without necessarily changing him. One technical aspect of a difference between Young Sheldon and Big Bang Theory that I think works really well, or works better actually, there's no laugh track in Young Sheldon. I really think more and more we're going to get away from this sort of sitcom style of show. Not saying you can't do sitcoms. Obviously, they have their place in history and all of that with television. But I think just culturally we're moving more and more away from that idea of needing that laugh track to tell us when to laugh, so to speak. So, to be more specific, Young Sheldon doesn't use the laugh track, and funny enough, it provides room for more jokes immediately back to back because you don't need that pause in between. And then two, it also opens up the opportunity to not laugh, funny enough. It provides an opportunity, several opportunities, to be much more serious and to have more serious topics and discussions. And that works really, really well for Young Sheldon. Whenever you have a show that has a laugh track, you're basically waiting for the next joke. You're waiting for that segment in between of, okay, I have a joke here, all right, and then where's the next joke now? It can be hard to have that brief pause or that time period where it's like, okay, we're not gonna have a joke here, because in the back of the audience's mind, they're still going, when's the next joke? When's the next joke? When am I supposed to laugh next? Whether they mean to or not. So that's one technical piece that works really well in Young Sheldon's case is the no laugh track. The other piece, and this is the piece that works the best and why this is so great, and that is the characters. This family is so well rounded. Oh my gosh, there's so much depth to it. I don't even think I can do it justice. And also, to be fair, this is more of a first impressions. I've watched all the way through seasons 1 through 3. I just started season 4. He's going off to college and all of that. So I haven't completed the series. But this family is so well rounded. So first of all, we'll just dive right into Sheldon. He's still very much who he is from Big Bang Theory, but he is much more emotionally aware, and that's so refreshing because that's ultimately, for me, what made him so insufferable in Big Bang Theory. But here he's so much more self-aware to an extent. Remember, this is Sheldon still, but he's so much more self-aware, and he's so much more responsive to feedback, particularly from his parents, that he's able to pick up on the world much more easily. And to be fair also to Big Bang Theory, there is sort of an in-world explanation for why this happened. Again, I haven't finished the show, but I do know that at the end of Young Sheldon, Sheldon leaves home, which means he gets away from his family, which means he gets away from the people that kept him in check. So when he goes away from home, all of a sudden, he's allowed to be himself, completely unfettered and unchallenged. So as a character, being away from his family, he gets worse, so to speak. And so I think that's a really good explanation of why he's so insufferable in Big Bang Theory, why he had that character regression after Young Sheldon. But yeah, still very much insufferable, but he's much more responsive to feedback, and he's very, very emotionally intelligent. He says please and thank you, and he recognizes when other people help him. And so all of that works really, really well in his favor. To briefly touch on the other characters, we'll go straight into the next major character. That's Mary. She's basically the over-controlling mother, but it's not unwarranted. I see a lot of clips criticizing her character, and while people's problems with her are accurate, right? Her being so controlling is a problem, like real world sort of scenario. It doesn't change the fact that it does come from a legitimate place, that she's struggling to deal with the fact that her son is so smart that he does sort of need to grow up faster than normal. And so she's dealing with that. He's also, ironically, on the other flip side of that, so needy that she's constantly there for him, and her other children are being left in the dust. Even her husband is being left behind in that. So it's not as simple as that she's just over controlling and that makes her a terrible person. She's not over controlling to an extent without merit. But also she's a mom. Like, she gave birth to this kid, and she thought she was going to have 18 years with him at least, and instead she's got to cut that down by like a decade. So it's really, really tough. Next is George, also fantastic character. I've heard that the retconning of his character from Big Bang Theory is like one of the best retcons ever. I think it's more just symbolic of how dads do way more than people, even their children, realize until they are in their dad's shoes, essentially. It's very refreshing to see a really, really good dad in a TV show. Really good dad that's there for his kids, supports his kids. Not saying that he doesn't have fumbles here and there. He's the one that's got to help Missy through her becoming a lady. They're away on a trip, and it just so happens that she goes through that process. She goes through that process without Mary being around, and so Missy asks her dad to help. And yeah, he has that little fumbling moment of, oh, let's call your mom or something. Why do I have to do this? But he buckles up and he figures it out. He figures it out. So that was really good. He's a really good dad. Not perfect, certainly. Again, even in his case, much like with Mary, his kids get left in the dust because of Sheldon. But he's very supportive of all of his kids, and that's really refreshing to see from a father figure in a TV show. Georgie, his response to being left behind, so to speak, is he sort of just checks out and starts working on himself, and so there's good and bad aspects to that, right? He just starts flippantly dating girls and being a kind of that ladies' man. He's got a job, so he's got money, he's got a car. He's essentially taking care of himself despite living at home. I think even at one point he's like paying for his family's cable just that way he can have more TV channels to watch. That's funny. But that's a very interesting perspective of, well, nobody's watching me, and I want certain things, so I'm going to work on myself to get those certain things. I'm going to need a job because I want money, because I want girls, and he does it. And while some of his aims might be a little off, he's a teenager, so like, where else are his aims going to be, sort of thing. So that's very interesting. Missy, she's very emotionally aware, but she uses that emotional awareness most of the time for her to eat popcorn and watch. She became very emotionally aware because, again, she was left in the dust, and so she became emotionally aware and present, so that way she could pick up on these things in her family dynamics, so that way she could kind of find out where she could fit and watch things at the same time. She might be, while I think George is the most interesting character, I might argue Missy is the funniest, because of that social dynamic that she plays in there. So really, really funny. All really well rounded. Mima is the last one, and she kind of rounds everyone out by being sort of the trickster, so to speak. She's not necessarily on anyone's side but herself. Closest thing might be is that she's on her grandkids' side of things, but even then, like, she'll throw them under the bus for a date or bowling night or whatever, and I don't blame her either, right? She's a grandma, she's retired, she wants to go and do her own things. Very brief overview on the character dynamics there. I highly recommend watching Young Sheldon, even if you don't watch Big Bang Theory. This is a good show, even if you don't have all of that foreknowledge, because there's very brief foreshadowings of Big Bang Theory, to the point where they're negligible. You don't even really know it, sort of thing. It's really, the show itself stands on its own two legs, and honestly, I recommend Young Sheldon over Big Bang Theory. With all of that being said, I am your most humble and obedient servant, Page Ghost.